Hi, and welcome to the Three English Experts. I'm Birgit.
I'm Dave.
And I'm Rebecca.
And welcome to this episode.
Three English Experts is your English podcast to help you speak better English and create a positive and happy mindset for your English learning journey.
Hello, everyone. And today we're looking at a very important grammar aspect. And so for that reason, I will hand over very shortly to Birgit. But I think it's one that we will all agree, the three of us, that it causes the most headaches for German learners and learners generally of English, because it is so complicated. And there's also these little bits in the English language where we use them, and do we use them in the right time and the right place? So I'd like Birgit just to kick us off with a little explanation, and then we can talk about it generally as a team. Birgit, what's it all about?
Okay, thank you, David. I don't think you have mentioned it. It's present perfect, and the name is not really important for people because it's always so confusing and difficult to remember what a grammar tense is called. But of course, when you're interested in learning language, maybe it does help to know present perfect. This comes up again, and it's rather difficult, as David says. That's true. A lot of people get headaches or they try to avoid it. That's what I often say. And that's what I check when I start with a learner. Is she capable or actively using present perfect or not? You see, the problem is with this tense that we don't have anything similar in our German language concept. When we talk about past, we can express that in a very different way. We don't have to think about, has an action really ended or is it still going on? So this comes into, is important here with the present perfect tense. I will give you an example just to maybe make clear where the problems are. Just imagine a situation when somebody comes into the room and you ask the person, wo bist du gewesen in German? So the most natural thing for British people would be to say, where have you been? Sometimes this is tricky for learners because when you haven't understood really, don't use present perfect tense, what do? You try to express that maybe in past tense, but that doesn't sound quite right. And the explanation is because it's got an importance for the person who's in the room wanting to know where you have been, but you're not talking about a moment in the past. And we will talk about signal words in a moment, because this is really helping learners to use present perfect when you get started. So maybe I should just very shortly explain what present perfect really is as a grammatical tense. You use have plus the participle perfect. It's the third form of the verb. Or has, if it's a singular first person, he, she, it. Has plus done, have plus sent. But you shouldn't really translate that to habe gemacht, because you can, in our language, in German, you could say, ich habe das gestern gemacht, ich habe das vor 3 Wochen gemacht. And that's the point. You can't say that, or shouldn't say that in English language, because that's simple past tense. Okay, now let's hand over to Rebecca for a while, because this is how I explain it as I understand why it's so important. So maybe I have a special view on this, because I know it's so difficult to understand. But what do you think as a native British person to teach Germans?
Yeah, I think I totally agree. First of all, it's very confusing. I think what I find is they understand the one where you say something started in the past and it hasn't finished. So I have lived in Frankfurt for 25 years. It's clear I'm still here. And when you explain that, you have to say, I have worked for this company for 25 years or for 5 years. They understand the concept that it's not finished, nicht abgeschlossen. It's still going on. I think the tricky one is the one, like you said, where have you been? They would just say, well, why can't I say, where were you? Mm-hmm. Why do I have to say, where have you been? And the point I know there is this like explanation of, it's connected to now, but I always say to keep it really simple, keine abgeschlossene Zeitangabe. Not where were you yesterday evening? Where did you go last weekend? Then I've got a fixed finished time in the sentence. So where did you go yesterday? I went to the cinema, because it's clear we're talking about yesterday. Yesterday is finished. When you just say, where have you been? Keine Zeitangabe. There's no time connected to that. It's just like, where have you been? Because it's not important. The time is not important. It's just, where have you been? I've just been to the shops. I've just been to get my lunch. And you're not telling me when you did it or exactly what time you did it. It's just, I have picked up my lunch. And I think this is the kind of tricky one. So I always say it's a finished action, because I'm back now. I've been out and now I'm back. It is a finished action, but there's no time attached to it. So for example, I would say, oh, guess what? I have bought a new sofa. Yeah. I'm not telling you when I bought it. I bought it 6 weeks ago and now it has arrived, but I bought it ago in the past and the buying is finished. But when I say just, I've bought a new sofa, it's new information, but it's not relevant when I bought it. Nobody cares. It's just, oh, guess what? I have bought a new sofa. So it's a finished activity, but with no abgeschlossene Zeit. That's what I always say. There's no ended time, finished time attached to that sentence. Have you sent the report? Yes, I have sent the report. It's not relevant when I sent it. It's just, I just want to know, have you done it? Yes, I have done it. So that's what I would say. You also need present perfect, finished activity with no time. Dave?
Yeah, I just want to say there exactly, when it's like new information, and that's also quite important. The result now, if you like, you can look at it that way. And this is why if you read news articles online carefully, you will often see in the first sentence, often, not always, it depends on the situation, of course, that something has happened. Okay. And it's just then the new news, the event happened in the recent past, but it's the new information to give to you. And what you often find then afterwards, when it talks about something in the past, it will then go into the past tense, because it then, as Rebecca said, is specific because it gives you a time frame, or when it happened yesterday or 2 days ago or whatever. But the new information is new and it's information, so it's in this present perfect form. Also, maybe to make it a little bit easier, I often call the present perfect past present. I don't know if that really makes sense, but I think maybe it helps, just this idea of something that started in the past and it's ongoing to the present, or it's got something to do with the present. And let's face it, present perfect, what really does that mean? I mean,
exactly.
The present is perfect.
It's definitely not perfect. Definitely not perfect.
So I think sometimes it can be a bit confusing when you with the names, right? At least.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and why the question maybe you or the listeners might ask, so why should I bother at all? Why is this important? And it is important, believe me, because we use it all the time. When you just imagine situation, you see somebody, as Rebecca said, you don't talk about a moment in the past, really. You talk about things that happen. You see something new. And then you can't really do without. And I have had learners who came to me and thought, oh, my English doesn't sound, I'm not happy. And it was just because they were not able to use present perfect. And that was the eye opener. That was the one thing that really helped them speak better English. Believe me, that's true. And one more thing I think is important here to understand how you build, and then just really follow the rule, no matter what verb you use. You see somebody coming into the room and war beim Friseur. The vocabulary is to have a haircut. So I have had a haircut. That's also very confusing, but that's just simply following the rule. Have as an auxiliary verb plus have as a main verb, have had. Once you understand that, and that's really a big step towards good English or better English, and that's really fact, I think, matter of fact.
I completely agree with that. Sorry, Dave.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
No, just when you have and had, right? I mean,
yeah, it freaks everybody out. I've had.
Yeah, you don't hear that. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
But you can also say I've had. So you can put the I've had obviously together, but you can say, yeah, I have had a terrible day. You know, that works. It's perfect. It's not perfect.
Not
back to the word perfect.
The grammar's perfect.
Yeah, but I think, Birgit, I think you're absolutely right that, yeah, it is one of these things that when you get it right, it makes such a difference to how your English sounds. And so it's worth, like you say, it's worth time. It's worth investing a bit of time to get your head around it. Yeah, and figure it out. So one of the things I use to help my learners learn this is using signal words. I'm a big fan of signal words.
Definitely.
So, for example, the word already, someone said to me, she said, but why is it present perfect? Because it's finished. If I've already done it, it's finished, right?
Good,
and I said,
good argument.
It is a really good argument, but already takes present perfect. So I have already cleaned the windows. I have already done it. Yeah. So Dave, you were going to talk about some more of these signal words.
Yeah, well, I suppose with the word already, what automatically goes with that, for example, is the word yet. So have you finished the project yet, as a question? And then maybe as an answer, yes, I've already finished it. Or the negative, often the yet is used in the negative and in the question. So in this case, I haven't finished it yet, but I've already done half. So again, the already maybe in a more positive structure. Yeah, and also, of course, you could say, how much have you done so far? So you can use so far as well, linked up with the yet and the already. Yeah, I finished about half of it already, or I've done about half so far, however you want to say it. So they're just quite linked ones with the already, the yet, the so far, or up until now also you could use in this context too. So that's certainly 2 or 3 that go with that one. Next one.
I think the big one is since, right?
Since and for, since and for.
Since is a good one, yeah.
Seit, yeah, and Zeitspanne, since. Very typical because in one of our last episodes we had this CV application. Maybe people don't ask seit wann haben Sie hier or arbeiten Sie hier, but since I've been in this company, since I have been here seit.
I'm still
very
there,
often you hear with learners, I am here, I've been here.
Yeah. Since is a good one. I think since is, and it's also clear that since in German as well is not finished, isn't it? Like seit is nicht abgeschlossen. It's not vor 3 Jahre, it's seit, I'm still here. So I think that's clear that it's not a finished activity. Yeah. And have you ever, of course, is a great typical small talk thing. Oh, have you ever been here before? Have you ever eaten schnitzel? Have you ever done this before? Have you ever done a presentation in English? So have you ever is a really nice question construction, normally used in questions and always takes present perfect. Yeah.
On that one though, I often say this is kind of like a one-liner in the sense that after that, often you go and talk in the past. So maybe you say, have you ever been to England? Oh, yes, I have. Because then often you give a specific time. So last year, I went to England. Then, of course, if it says last year, it means the past. So
and you've got the details,
and you've got the details of specific times. If, of course, you don't provide the specific times, then you stay with the present perfect. Yeah, I've been to Britain. I've been there many times, even as well.
Yeah,
I've been there quite often.
Yeah, exactly. Now, have you seen that film? Yes, I have seen that film. Nobody cares when I saw it. It's just like, yeah, I've seen that. Yeah. Go on, Birgit, sorry.
Yeah, what has just come to my mind, a thought has come to my mind.
Has bubbled up.
Yes. Now we're talking about this because I always try to look at it from different angles. We're talking about how difficult present perfect is for German learners when they want to handle English in a good way. Vice versa, it should then be very simple for you to speak German because you don't have to worry about that. But has it ever come to your mind that you sort of, oh, look at that aspect is so easy in German language?
I have 3 words for you, Birgit. Der, die, das. I can't say anymore.
Okay, well,
if you think German is simple, well, let's get into genitive, dative, accusative, movement towards. Wow, like,
And the adjective endings.
oh goodness. So
Yeah.
this is the thing, if you don't know your dirty das, your
Yeah.
adjective endings, it's like, forget about it, because you can't even do that because you don't know if it's masculine, feminine, or neuter.
Yeah. So,
You
but
know,
you're not worried.
I know what you're
Yeah.
trying to say, Birgit, but
there's so many aspects to when you learn German. Okay, and that's interesting for learners because there's always something in the language. With English, I believe
this
it's
is one of the
present
big
perfect.
ones. Yeah,
But we need to have to mention the Americans here,
yes,
Dave or Rebecca.
I mean, in my experience, a lot of Americans or American English doesn't always use present perfect. So you will hear, we would say, "Oh, have you seen that film?" Yeah, I've seen that film a few times. It's one of my favorite films. And they would say, "Oh, yeah, I saw that. And they would like, sorry, that's my terrible American accent. And they would say, "I saw," instead of "I've seen that." Yeah, I did that. I did that. Yeah, have you done that? Yeah, I did that. I don't know if it's everybody. I don't know if it's a standard thing, but you definitely hear Americans skipping present perfect. So yeah, don't be surprised. I teach my clients British English, so
yeah. And it's good to be able to tackle present perfect because you need it in some situation you can't do without. I always say you can't do without it. So
I don't know. I mean, maybe they don't completely scrap it. Maybe it's just in certain situations they don't use it. I really don't know. We'd have to ask an American. But so you definitely need it.
Mm-hmm.
But you might, if you're watching a film or something, don't be surprised if you hear, that they skip it. I mean, it could be just a local kind of thing. Yeah.
There are some more keywords, guys, that we haven't covered yet.
Oh, sorry.
Go on.
Yeah, you mustn't forget. Recently, lately, and confusingly, in the last few days, weeks, months, because you've got that word last in there.
Yeah, that's
then
tricky.
you think last, it's the past tense, but it's not. So have you seen each other recently? Yes, we have. No, we haven't. Again, maybe could be a one-liner because you often then go into the past. But okay, there's recently, lately, and in the last few weeks, last few months. Maybe if you're talking about the business, the graphs, the trends, how things grown in the last few months, how things increased or whatever in the last few weeks. Also quite a useful one as well.
Yeah.
So we will put a list in the show notes of the signal words. That's for sure. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And the other one is, of course, with this week, this month, this year, when the time isn't over. Again, maybe a little bit tricky to get your head around, but if the time isn't over, so for example, I don't know, today, as we are recording this, it's a Friday, guys. So how's your week been this week, right? How's your week been this week? So the week isn't over. Of course, if it was over, then you say, how was your week last week or whatever? Yeah. So if a time when something isn't over, then you would use the present perfect with this week, this month, this year. Yeah.
But again, Dave, that's difficult for learners to figure out. How's your week been? How has, this apostrophe S thing to understand? You really have to look at that because that's very often people think, oh, that's for is. How apostrophe S can also be for has. Yeah. So it's when you are in a learning process, it's important to mention that, to understand that first, because that's how natives, David, how's your week been? Reflect on that, try to figure out what the person is really saying here when you listen to. I don't know. There's this very good podcast also of BBC 6-Minute English for beginners, learners. It's not bad. Very good. I don't know how they use that. Do they explain it? I don't know. So
I think so. Yeah, I've listened to it a few times.
Okay.
I think they do explain these things. Yeah. But again, it's often, as a native, you do shorten things. And so that's something that students, I guess, have to get used to in a way, that things are shortened and you've just got to try to figure out, okay, is that the shortened has or is that the shortened is? And hopefully then with time you get, okay, how's your week been? Okay, it's has. Rebecca?
I think it just all goes back to this figuring out this interest, isn't it? When I hear something in German or Japanese or whatever, and I think, what was that? Why did they say it like that? And you have to investigate a little bit detective work and figure out, well, okay, they used that verb and they used that tense because it wasn't finished, or, you have to kind of, and again, this just comes from interest. If you're not interested in the language, you won't spend that time. Your brain will not use that energy to figure it out. So just being curious, like we talked before, being curious, like wanting to know how things work is a good skill here. It's just, how's your week been? That's good the phrase to say. How has your week been? That's a tricky one. I cannot imagine any of my learners actually coming up with that spontaneously. I have to say, it's just, that's too difficult, I think. But when you think about it, how has your week been? It's not actually that tricky, but I think it's just this understanding first, figuring it out, and then trying to use it yourself is the trick.
Yeah, very good point. Yeah.
I think as the app guide, maybe just to close up from my perspective, at least, it's this idea of asking ChatGPT, if you don't want to use a book, what it can do for you. And I just put into ChatGPT just a few minutes ago, create me a quiz. And so that I can practice this. And it did do. It just gave part one with fill in the gaps. It's not really very difficult, but it's just a little bit of training. And this is something you can do, as we say in English, on the fly, when you're on the move. If you've got ChatGPT on your mobile or you're at work and you bit of time, you can always have a look through these things. And so you're not always reliant on a book or something like this. Maybe it's just a little added tip at the end. Try using ChatGPT for these things.
But looking into books is also nice. My book.
I was just going to say, Birgit's booked.
Of course.
Really put a lot of effort into trying to explain it. And there's always exercises. And the big 5 tenses is very only 150 pages, not very long, and very compact, and with some exercise. So there's both. Exactly. Both is super.
Best way to go. Absolutely.
So that was our deep dive into present perfect. Hope you found it useful. Next time, it's Christmas again, and we are going to repeat our Christmas quiz. This time, we are focusing on Christmas songs and Christmas films. Will be a lot of fun, so hope you join us again. Take care, and bye for now. Thank you so much for pressing play today. If you have any comments, questions, or perhaps suggestions for future episodes, feel free to contact us at our website, 3englishexperts.com. Have a great day and see you next time.